Hello. Hello. My name is John. I'll be your host. This show will hopefully be a semi-regular video series where I'll talk about the hottest news stories in baseball and try to give you a little bit of analysis. This is my second attempt at recording my first show because the first time I tried to record it, my girlfriend walked in, and I do not want her to know how much of a nerd I am. I'm new to speaking in front of a camera, I'm new to video editing, so I hope that I don't mess up this video. I hope there aren't a ton of effects going on. I hope this doesn't become completely beyond my control in the editing booth. So I think in this initial episode I'm going to try to lay the groundwork for how I tend to evaluate players. I like to play in deep fantasy leagues. I like to play in roto leagues. I feel like there's more skill involved in deeper leagues than in roto leagues because the arc of the season takes place over such a long time that it really kind of weeds out a lot of factors. Like luck. These shows will be focused on those categories, but obviously, this is advice. We're going to be talking about certain players. We're going to be talking about certain news stories in the fantasy baseball world that I think are relevant to any format. So, I feel like you really kind of make your bones in fantasy baseball. Is that a phrase? Make your bones? Where you win fantasy baseball is through free agent pickups and trades. I'm a prolific trader. I would make Seattle's GM Jerry DiPoto blush with the amount of trades that I make. And, some of them are out of just pure boredom because I have nothing better to do with my life. But I also just kind of enjoy talking to people about baseball, talking to my trade partners, trying to figure out how they evaluate certain players, trying to find value in places that most people aren't looking. So I'm one of those kind of fantasy players. I love to make trades. I'm not the kind of guy who just drafts a team and crosses their fingers and hopes for the best. Part of it is probably I'm not confident enough in my ability to draft a good team, so I just need to stockpile players throughout the year. So yeah, free agent pickups are huge, I think. There's a direct correlation, I think, between how much attention you pay to the waiver wire throughout the year and how well you do for the most part. So when I'm evaluating new talent, usually there are a couple things that I look for. In pitchers, one of the first things that my eye is drawn to is strikeout to walk ratio. I'm sure there are arguments against this, but I think if you look at the top pitchers in the game, you won't find too many who have a strikeout to walk ratio below 3. Some of the best pitchers in baseball have strikeout to walk ratios around 4 or 5. So usually when somebody starts to pitch well, who we haven't heard of yet, or who is a top prospect, and you kind of want to gauge whether their success is sustainable. The first thing you're going to want to look at is strikeout to walk ratio, or at least that's what I look at, and it hasn't really failed me too often. It's a pretty consistent marker of future success. And there are obviously more fancy statistics that people use that incorporate strikeout to walk ratio. I know Eno Saris with Fangraphs uses it in a different way. He uses I believe it's strikeout percentage in relation to walk percentage or something like that. I don't need any of these nerds telling me what to do. So that's what I look at for pitchers generally first. After that, I usually, it's not really, I haven't seen too many people use this, but I'll usually compare innings pitched to hits allowed. I think that gives you a good idea of the kind of stuff that a pitcher has. So if you have a guy who's thrown 100 innings and has given up 120 hits, that's a guy whose stuff, for whatever reason, whether it's injury or just pure skill, isn't really missing bats essentially, which is obvious. But generally the bar that I set for that is usually you want the hits allowed to be fairly significantly below the innings pitched. I usually eyeball it. You want it to be a 1-to-1 ratio or less, and the lower the better, obviously. Anything significantly above a 1-to-1 ratio, like if a guy is giving up 140 hits per 100 innings pitched, you know that he's just not missing bats. And if he has a low ERA, you'll generally find it's because of some luck or some nice breaks from his fielders. Obviously, strikeouts per inning pitched, K per 9 is a good one. That'll also give you a good indication of the kind of stuff that a guy has. You wanna, if you want to dig deeper, you definitely want a good ground ball percentage, and you're always looking at home runs. Limiting home runs is a skill. You'll see guys in the league who consistently will be posting high home run totals, and I think it's because some combination of command and control. Maybe they leave the ball up a bit, maybe they just lose focus at times, but I do think that generally if there's a history of high home run rates, that it's a flaw in that pitcher in some area. So you generally want to stay away from that. Not that somebody can't succeed with giving up a lot of home runs. I know Max Scherzer this past year gave up like a butt ton of home runs, but he was still Mad Max. He's a freak. He's like, and he looks like somebody's fucking uncle. But he managed to get away with it because he just has good stuff. And if you look at those indicators like strikeout to walk, and strikeout per inning pitched, and hits allowed per innings pitched, those indicators are all like where they need to be, so he was able to overcome his home run issue. Those are the main things I go through when I'm evaluating pitchers that I'm interested in trading for or picking up on the wire. For hitters, still look at strikeouts as a good indicator of success. There's a lot of things you can look at for a hitter, but I think it usually, even if you read some of the more analytical stuff out there, it usually boils down to stuff like contact percentage. You can look at stuff like chase rates, stuff like O-zone percentages and Z-zone percentages and stuff like that. That's the amazing thing about baseball and what I love about it so much. You can enjoy it on a purely surface level, like a delicious third pounder McDonald's burger that's just instant gratification, and it is what it is, and it's great. Or you could dive a little deeper and go for some nuance. That's the beautiful thing about it. For hitters, you definitely want to look at strikeout percentage, walk rate, and contact percentage. So okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. I had to end the last podcast early because my girlfriend got home, and I don't want her to know how much of a loser I am. So for hitters, it generally comes down to walk rate and strikeouts. Then you can look at something. Sometimes I'll look at hard hit rate. I feel like guys who hit the ball harder are obviously more likely to post higher averages, just because there's a better chance of the ball falling. When you look at hard hit rates, I think you also want to be looking at the angles, because a guy could smash the ball 500 miles per hour, but if it goes straight up, it's going to be an out. So you definitely want a guy who just smashes the ball hard, and either on the ground or in a straight line, and preferably as a line drive. But yeah, there's a ton of stats out there, and each player that you evaluate is gonna make you want to focus on different stats, and certain stats mean different things just based on the type of player. So yeah, as we get into the season, as things start to happen, I'm hoping to evaluate players more in depth, to take looks at different statistics for different guys based on their style of play, and to help you win your championship. I also do want to highlight the importance of actually watching baseball games, watching players that you're interested in or that you want to know more about. It's not something I really thought of much up until this past year, just because I thought, oh, I'm an analytical genius. I can I can crunch some numbers. I can scout some box scores. As much as I'm fascinated by the world of analytics, there is a reason that teams still have scouting departments. Some of it is because the people running these teams are still ancient dinosaurs. But some of it is because there's actually value in watching a guy and just getting an impression, just getting an intuitive feeling for what they can do. And it also helps you get an idea of, especially for pitchers, what kind of stuff a guy has. If you're just looking at a box score, a guy could throw 7 shutout innings, give up 4 hits, but he got out of a ton of jams because of slick defensive plays. Maybe somebody robbed a grand slam and kept 4 potential runs off the board. There's a lot of things that happen over the course of a ball game that you miss out on if you're just looking at the numbers. So so I'm going to be focusing a lot on my fantasy team because I'm number 1 and I'm all that matters. No, I'm gonna be focusing on a lot of players that I own, obviously, or that I'm looking to trade for or pick up. But I think that will help give some focus to what we'll be talking about in this very exciting web series. So I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible. I am a huge Met fan. I will be owning David Wright in every single league. That can be my first bit of advice, actually. Go pick up David Wright. He's gonna hit 30 bombs again, and he's gonna come back bigger and better than ever. I heard they're gonna give him a cybernetic spine this year, and he's gonna just take over. He's gonna be like Robo-Cop. He's gonna be like the Robo-Cop of baseball. So you heard it here first. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out my very first episode. I hope to regale you with stories of high adventure and fantasy baseball, Viva Fantasy Baseball, along with Fantasy Baseball. God bless.